kind of tails into the next one I was going to talk about with kids that feel like they're getting bullied. And again, I'm not talking about the case where your kids are actually getting bullied. I'm talking about cases where the kid feels like they're being bullied, but they might not be. I'm explaining the other side. So that could be from other kids on the team, particularly. And what I have found in my experience as a coach in these environments is the kids that complain about other kids picking on them, a lot of times are kids that cause shit. A lot of times are the kids that cause shit, or they are doing something that is separating themselves from the group in some way. Right?
Oftentimes.
So again, I'm not talking about the case where kids are just being assholes and bullying, because obviously that needs to be handled appropriately. So if we put that case aside where it's not clear what's going on, then what I would say in those situations where you feel like kids are constantly picking on your kid or whatever, it's another one of those self-analysis things where instead of mom and dad saying, hey, that doesn't sound like my kid, maybe it's like, okay, well, like what are they saying to you? Like, what is the thing that they're picking on you for? You know, if it's, hey, your glasses are stupid, okay, maybe that's actually bullying now. But if it's, well, I try to do this, this, and this, and then three of them start yelling back at me, and it's like, well, yeah, but the thing you did to them first is what was annoying, and now they're ganging up on you because you're being a pain in the ass, you know? So not good that they're ganging up on you, but there's something you can fix there, you know? And I find that a lot of times in the team environment, this is I'm giving a very specific set of circumstance here. In a team environment where one kid ends up coming and saying, these kids are picking on me, a lot of times it's the one kid is doing something that is separating himself from the group or getting on other kids' nerves or whatever, and then kids will start to make little pockets that start to gang up on another kid. That's what I've found most of the time in a class setting or in a team group setting with the bullying stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this is a really tricky one. So okay. I'm going to go two different ways because I want to answer it, as you said, as a coach. But first of all, I'm going to go as a player. I remember one of my good friends that got traded to us. He was drafted to the New York Rangers. So he got drafted. He ended up being my right winger, 6'5", great guy. Actually, no, not a great guy. To me, he was a great guy, but he was geeky. So he was the smart guy. He was the guy that wore a toque as soon as it got a little bit cold, which was weird to us. He would bring his books on the bus. He would do his homework. Got the Scholastic Player of the Year. What a dummy. So he didn't fit in what you call that hockey model, right? He was different. So guys, not that they picked on him, but it was like someone always had a comment.
Always a shot.
Yeah. Always a comment. And he was smart enough not to care. And it's like, you know, and you know, if you're gonna carve someone because they're smart, well, I mean, you're not too bright.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a situation where that can get out of hand. And you know, to me, bullying, and I forgive me, guys, if I'm not politically correct, but for me, bullying would be when he opens his books and you throw his books on the ground and say something like really, really, really derogatory. But not to me, it's not like like saying something smart ass and you know, it's a little chuckle. But that's just me. Like, I'm not real sensitive. So, you know, people can say whatever they want about me. So now, as a coach, which I would say is the same thing as being a parent, is your team are your kids, right? If you're a dad, your kids are your team. It's the same thing. You're the leader of the team. You need to address anything that could be. You have to have a pulse on your team. So you have to be able to know the guys. You got to be able to know that every time I say it to Eric, I can see the body language. It's not fair to him anymore. It's like you guys are crossing the line a little bit. So I need to go number one to my leadership or someone that I feel is crossing the line. And I've done it with my son. So that's good there, bud. That's enough. Not with his team, but like in life. He did it with you the other day. He was saying something to you. Actually, he was joking around with you.
I don't remember.
Anyways, he said something in a response because you guys piss around a lot.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that's he wasn't picking on you, but it's like, to me, it just crosses the line of being derogatory.
Mm-hmm.
There's, you know what I mean? There's a line of respect that you cannot.
For sure.
And you didn't even take it that way, so that doesn't matter. Yeah. But for me,
I don't even remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. But for me, it's like I don't want that. So That's my pulse on the team, my pulse on my kid. That's what you have to do. So, like, number one, go to your leadership or the kid that you feel is getting a little out of hand and say, listen, I know what's going on. Like, I'm not saying it in a bad way. Like, Eric, I know what's going on. Rob is the geek on the team, but he's a good player. He's your teammate. And of course you can tease him a little bit about being a brainiac. It's all good fun. But there's certain things that cross the line. As a team, we don't get closer by crossing lines. We were teammates by maybe saying nothing or keeping it really, really light. Let him be who he is so you can be who you are, blah, 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 blah. Then I would also go to Robbie. That was the guy's name, Rob. And I'd pull him aside, just like not even like in a place where we're just walking out. Hey, Rob, come here. Hey, listen, keep doing your homework. Keep doing that shit. And tell him why it's good. And listen, are you good? Like, I know the guys ride you a little bit. Are you good? And find out where he's at, because he could sit there and just shake his head and say, like, no, I'm not good. It sucks. Right? It's an issue now.
Yeah, now it's an issue.
And it's like, so for the people that say, like, I'm not a bully guy, right? Like, I'm not into this stuff. But it's just, to me, it's common sense. If you got a teammate that it's actually you're hurting him or you're making him feel like it's not good and he feels bad for doing what he wants in his life, then that's a line that shouldn't be crossed. You need to help that guy and to teach your team. And it's just better.
Yes. And so I think this kind of goes into a good, sorry, go.
No. And I was saying, and if Robbie goes, yeah, I just, like, every time I do something, it's like, okay, you're 20 years old, you're 6'5", like, you're gonna have to tape an aspirin to it a little bit. Like, you gotta toughen up just a little bit. Like, they're not, like, don't take everything so personal.
And this is you're leading into, no, you're good, because you're leading into a little bit of the parenting side of it too, not just the coaching. It's like, if you have a kid who you feel like they're on the receiving end of the kind of bullying that isn't an issue, the kind of where you say they're being bullied, but it's that the kids don't know where the line is yet and they're poking fun and doing that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about the serious bullying where the kid is actually going into depression now, and like, we're not crossing that line. Then because I see this with kids all the time, it's like, you need to be able to identify the quirky parts that might be the target. So if it's something that is actually you feel like might be an issue, it's like, again, it's you take responsibility for your own behavior. Or if your kid is young, help them understand why they might be getting made fun of for a particular thing. It's like, well, you carry a stuffed animal around everywhere you go, right? It's like you're asking for it, man. You're asking for it. And now, if you really want to take the stuffed animal around everywhere you go, then you're going to have to take the heat, man.
People will look at you funny.
They're going to look at you funny, and you have to be able to handle that. And if not, get rid of the stuffed animal and they'll stop. Like, like, life sorts itself out real quick like that. You know what I mean? So if this is a situation where you feel like you're being bullied again, it's like, again, if it's not the serious causing an issue bullying, then you go down the path you just talked about as the coach or as the parent. You're asking if it's actually an issue. Now we need to address it. But if it's that borderline, the kid seems to be getting made fun of, or there's always somebody who's always got something to say, then let's analyze the situation. And it's like, are you doing something that's good, whether it's harmless or you're being a pain in someone else's ass? Are you doing something to open the door for comments to fly? Because there's always, in a team environment, especially when you're a teenager or beyond, like, everyone is looking for something to rip on. It's 50% of the time you're together. That's what's happening. Everybody's ripping on everybody. So if it's not like, hey, develop some thick skin, kid, if it's not that lesson, then it's, okay, what are you doing that's making people chirp you all the time about stuff? Like, again, solvable problem. And it might not be that your teammates are trying to hurt your feelings, right? Timmy's such an asshole. He always has something to say to me. It's like, well, maybe Timmy just does this with everybody and you're a little more sensitive than other kids. It could be that. You know what I mean? Because it happens all the time with, like you said, you're talking with in here, 50% of the conversation is somebody talking shit.
Oh,
like, that's 50%. So if you can't handle
if you're the short guy on the team,
yeah, you're getting it.
There's not one thing you do. There's not one thing you do in that dressing room, on the bus, with the team and environment. Every joke is it's about how short you are. And it is what it is. And I don't know, like, that's, a lot of people would say you should never do any, you never have any fun either. But if someone cries, is they're actually hurt by it, it's like, I'm sorry, man, we'll start telling you you're tall. I'm sorry. no more short jokes because this guy, or
So and that's the point with the bullying thing for me. It's like, aside from the actual serious, it's an issue bullying now, which you should be able to identify that as an adult, or if you're a kid that's older and can handle it yourself. Aside from that situation, then it's just like, hey guys, like maybe they're not trying to hurt your feelings. Like maybe it's okay, you
I
know?
think a lot of the times, I think a lot of people that would make a comment on this, not I'm not generalizing, but I guess I am, is that there's and maybe this is what people think is bad, but there's a culture in hockey unlike anything else. It's like things that I don't think in corporate events necessarily, maybe like if you go to a hotel, you don't put leaners on someone's doors.
Yeah.
Right. So people that don't know what that is you bucket of water, you lean it on the door, you knock on it, walk. They open the door. There's water all over it. Some people would be like, "What the lose your mind?" But that's like this is the culture of hockey. It's like nonstop,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mostly in good fun. So,
Yeah.
and then
sure.
there's extremes, 100%.
Yeah.